Common Sense Economic Recovery Act, and that's a big one. Can you go into some of the details for that for some of our readers who may not be familiar with what that entails?
Well, the federal regulators have been made life excruciatingly difficult for small bankers. The administration bailed out all the big banks, billions of dollars of bailouts. But the small banks, who didn't even cause the meltdown,
Right.
they've really hit them hard. And you know, banks survive, community banks survive, which is the mother's milk of local business. All local businesses here deal with community banks, local banks, state banks. But the federal regulators regulate them different than they do the big banks. The big banks, they regulate from the 30,000-foot level.
Right.
Do you have procedures in place for this? Do you have procedures in place for that? These guys, they take over the boardroom for a month at a time and say, I want to see this loan, I want to see that loan, I want to see this loan. They would put a loan on non-accrual, for example, meaning that all the payment has to go to principal. And obviously, if you put all of a bank's income to principal, then there's none left called interest
Right.
to operate the bank on. They were putting loans on accrual for such things as parents would make payments for their son or daughter who was laid off, even though they may have been reemployed even at a higher wage, and there was never 1 minute late on their payments, they would put those loans on non-accrual. If a bank modified a loan with a business, say it was a several-year-old loan, and when they loaned it out at 9%, and now they'd be glad to get 4 or 5. If they renegotiated it and compromised at 6%, they'd say non-accrual. They put the loan on non-accrual. Say all loan modifications are non-accrual. Despite federal regulations of the Department of Treasury, to the contrary, the OCC, Office of Control and Currency, would even downgrade loans because the appraisal on the property was upside down. Of course, in Brevard County, you could look at any loan made in 2004, 2005, and probably find out that it's upside down. It doesn't mean the loan's not in good standing, and it doesn't mean that people won't pay for it. I mean, it's just like people that finance a new car.
Right.
They know they owe more on it than it's worth the minute they drive it off the lot.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're going to throw the keys back in the car and give it back to the dealer. They know that, and of course those loans will go on non-accrual. And one of the craziest ones, and this is a real example, was the regulators went to one local community bank. They had a $600,000 loan, which is a big loan for a local community bank, over $500,000. And they said, you see this loan that you have in this motel on the interstate? Yeah. So, well, we don't think that the people should be able to make the payment, so we're going to put it on non-accrual. And the banker said, well, wait a minute, this loan is 11 years mature. The balance owed on it is like only a third of the value, the appraised value.
Right.
And they've never been 1 second late on a payment in 11 years. I mean, this is ridiculous. And they said, well, we don't care what you think it is, we're putting it on non-accrual. Just about shut the bank down. So there's a lot of investigative field data that I did to find out how common this was, and I just thought the common sense solution to that is to define what a performing loan is. And historically in this country, a performing loan for the past 100 years in the banking industry has been a loan that's not been late 90 days. If you have a loan that's not been late 90 days, hey, that's a performing loan, regardless of whether federal regulators think you should or should not be able to make payments on it.
Right.
So I authored a bill to statutorily define a performing loan. Just about every organization in the nation supported it. One, the CPA said, well, we don't want to really get involved in a tussle here. I said, well, there's really no tussle, but they did say it didn't change accounting standards, and I was happy to get that. And only the ABA didn't sign on to it. And the night before the bill was heard in committee, the ABA came out against it. And I think the bill went down in committee by a vote of 11-8 because they said it might hurt transparency somehow. Haven't figured that out yet. So I've refiled the bill to make it apply to all institutions that are not publicly traded, so there's no transparency issue.
Okay.
I can't get the bill heard in committee still, but I'm still working on that.
Quick follow-up to that, and then
I did pass that I did pass an amendment onto the chairman's bill
Okay.
eliminating the GSEs, the government support organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So in committee, as an amendment, I put that on his bill, which is considered a must-pass piece of legislation. So I may get the backhanded passage of this too before it's over.